Welcome to Luxury Life. There are a few tremendously powerful corporations, some of which you may have heard of. For example, ABC, Apple, and Coke Industries. But there is little possibility that you have never heard of this one, BlackRock. This company was founded in 1988, and in just over 30 years, it has become widely acclaimed as the company that effectively owns the world, managing assets worth about $10 trillion. In this video, we will discuss this company secretly rules the world. The video will be unique, so stick to the end. Before starting the video, smash the like button and subscribe to never miss out on any of our videos. Why you've never heard of it? Why haven't you heard about BlackRock if it's so big? Even though they have much less money under their control, American central banks like JP Chase, Wells Fargo, and Citigroup frequently make the news. You haven't heard of BlackRock because it has significant holdings in the major media organizations that might have told you about it. Slate and Foreign Policy are owned by Graham Media Group, which is mainly owned by BlackRock and Vanguard. Additionally, they hold shares of CNN, CBS, Fox, Disney, Comcast, Gannett, and Sinclair Broadcast Group, totaling between 10 and 18%. These media firms are global conglomerates that control numerous vital media sources. BlackRock and Vanguard can dominate the news because of their significant stakes in media conglomerates, allowing them to stay out of the information. It is the fourth arm of the U.S. government. The U.S. and global economies entered a slight recession in 2020 due to COVID-19's debut. As per typical, the U.S. government and Federal Reserve intervened to implement monetary measures to restore normalcy in the country. But this time, they brought BlackRock along as a companion. BlackRock was requested by the American government and Federal Reserve to aid in financial market stabilization. The government accessed the necessary financial data through BlackRock's software. Strangely, BlackRock was also employed for comparable objectives by the Bank of Canada and the European Union. Technically, BlackRock now counts the Bank of Canada, the EU, and the US government as clients. Additionally, it offered BlackRock access to sensitive financial information it could utilize to its advantage. It owns shares in competing businesses. Another asset manager is State Street Global Advisors, but it deserves special note due to its dubious connections to BlackRock and Vanguard. Almost one-third of the shares of Coca-Cola and its main rival PepsiCo is jointly owned by BlackRock and Vanguard. Additionally, they are the largest investors in Facebook, Apple, Microsoft, Expedia, Skyscanner, Bookings.com, and Airbnb. But things don't stop there. Shares of rival airlines, oil firms, refineries, steel mills, mines, e-commerce sites, credit card companies, insurance companies, tobacco companies, massive automakers, weapons manufacturers, renewable energy companies, and more are owned by BlackRock, Vanguard, and State Street. It owns every pharmaceutical company. The bulk of shares in practically every pharmaceutical business you can think of have been purchased by investors like BlackRock. The top three U.S. pharmaceutical firms, Pfizer, Johnson & Johnson, and Merck, are owned by the big three, BlackRock, Vanguard, and State Street. And from their pharmaceutical investments, State Street, Vanguard, and BlackRock each make billions of dollars annually. Pharmaceutical companies gave their stakeholders $30 billion in 2000. They distributed $146 billion in 2018. It actually controls $20 trillion. In 1993, BlackRock released the initial iteration of Aladdin to aid in comparing changes to the stock it was managing. Over time, Aladdin changed and is now the preferred financial management program for several prominent businesses, asset managers, and multinationals who use it to manage $20 trillion worth of assets. That amounts to 10% of all financial assets worldwide, or 4 times the total amount of money. $20 trillion is equivalent to the US GDP and higher than China's. Strangely, State Street and Vanguard are 2 significant customers of BlackRock's Aladdin. No one regulates it. The Treasury is required by U.S. law to pay particular attention to banks with assets over $50 billion. Despite having control over 200 times as much in purchases, BlackRock receives little scrutiny from the government. Why? Because BlackRock is an asset manager rather than a bank. It has legally escaped with little scrutiny. But that still doesn't explain why the government hasn't made asset managers a part of the law. or even passed a separate piece of legislation. In fact, when this topic came up during a Senate hearing, Senator Elizabeth Warren questioned Treasury Secretary Janet Yellen about whether BlackRock's failure would be a risk to the American economy. Yellen deftly sidestepped the question by stating that the Financial Stability Oversight Council, which oversees banks with assets over $50 billion, had looked into BlackRock and would continue to do so. The response didn't impress Warren. It operates outside the U.S. BlackRock also has investments in several other nations. However, its actions are just as contentious as those in the U.S. BlackRock employs the same strategy everywhere. First, it cultivates relationships with officials to gain an advantage over rivals, and, more importantly, avoid government regulation. Following that, it can invest in everything. For instance, BlackRock assisted the Canadian government in establishing the Infrastructure Bank of Canada to finance public-private infrastructure projects within Canada. The bank, however, faced criticism because BlackRock is the only beneficiary of its existence. Similar events have occurred in Mexico, where BlackRock owns the pension fund for the nation and has invested in toll highways, jails, hospitals, power plants, and pipelines. And that does not include the numerous contentious contracts it secured in Mexico's very lucrative oil sector. The situation is not any better in Europe, where BlackRock was awarded a contract to assist the European Union in establishing banking regulations that support renewable energy. Since BlackRock may pass legislation that would benefit the companies it invests in, there was a blatant conflict of interest in the contract. BlackRock responded by using one of its go-to lines, claiming that it would not share any information it learned from drafting the regulation with other areas of its business. It's the reason Americans can't buy homes. BlackRock was shown to have acquired numerous residents, and in many cases, entire neighborhoods, before renting them out in 2021. Additionally, it wasn't targeting renting multifamily apartments. Instead, it concentrated on single-family homes, America's preferred type of real estate. As a result, families are forced to rent the houses that they would have otherwise purchased, because housing has become unaffordable. The more significant issue is that the quick rise in property prices encourages investors to borrow money to construct single-family homes, which they would then be unable to sell due to their exorbitant pricing. Every time, a housing bubble or subsequent recession are the outcomes. Who owns BlackRock? We finally reached the crucial point. Who owns BlackRock? BlackRock is owned by several investors, but let's concentrate on the big four: State Street, BlackRock Fund Advisors, Capital Research and Management Co., and Vanguard. The majority shareholder in BlackRock is Vanguard. Capital Research and Management Co., another enigmatic company, comes in second. BlackRock Fund Advisors, a privately held business controlled by, you guessed it, BlackRock, follows both businesses closely. Even the CEO and website of both companies are the same. State Street is in the fourth position several times in this list. Strangely, BlackRock holds the second highest shares, while Vanguard owns most of State Street. Do you detect any unsavory activity at this point? Yes, we do, and we believe that by identifying the owner of Vanguard, we might be able to reveal the fish. So who is Vanguard's owner? Since Vanguard is a privately held corporation, we don't know. Like BlackRock and State Street, it does not trade on the stock exchange and is entirely owned by its investors. This was all for today. I hope you liked the video. Let us know your opinion in the comment section below. Stay safe, and we'll be right back soon with another video. For more information, subscribe and watch other videos from our channel.